Okay, this is page 1 of the Algebra 2 Fall Final Review. I'm going to go ahead and get going into the first problem. It's saying if f of x equals 3x squared minus 5, then f of negative 2 equals what? So what that's asking us to do is plug in negative 2 for x. So what I'm going to do is 3 times negative 2 squared minus 5. Then following PEMDAS, since there's nothing left to do inside the parentheses, I'm going to go and apply the exponent. So that's going to be equal to 3 times negative 2 squared, which is 4. Negative 2 times negative 2 minus 5. Now I'm going to do multiplication, which will be 3 times 4, which is 12, minus 5, which is 7. So f of negative 2 equals 7. Moving on to the next problem, we're saying y equals negative 1/4 x plus 2. It's asking us to graph this. I know this is a line because the exponent on the x is 1, so it's a linear equation. So since I'm graphing a line, I want to think about the slope of that line, which would be negative 1/4. So there's my slope, so my rise over my run. And then the y-intercept of the line, which would be 2. So that means we're going to run through the point 0, 2. So on the graph here, I'm going to go to 0, 2 as my starting point. Make sure I'm on the y-axis. And then I'm going to use the slope, so the negative 1/4. So rise negative 1 or fall 1, and then run to the right 4. Fall another 1, run to the right 4 again. Or I can rise 1 and go to left 4. Rise 1, go left 4. And I'm going to use a straight edge to connect those points with a line. And then I will put arrows on the end of that line. Alright, so there's number 2. Move on to number 3. It's asking me to graph 3x plus y equals negative 6 using the x and y intercepts, and then label those intercepts. So with an x-intercept, what we know is that y is always 0. So it's going to be some x value with a y value of 0. And with a y-intercept, we know that x is always 0. So it's going to be some 0 would always be our x, and with some particular y value. So we're going to use that, saying if I want to find out what x is, I set y equal to 0. So 3x plus 0 equals negative 6. So that means 3x is negative 6. So that means x is negative 2. So that means my x-intercept is at negative 2, 0. So I'm going to go ahead and plot that point. So I'm going to the x-axis where negative 2 is. Similar idea for the y-intercept. Make my x value 0. So 3 times 0 plus y equals negative 6. That means 0 plus y is negative 6. So y is negative 6. So that means I pointed at 0, negative 6. So go down to where negative 6 is on the y-axis, make a point. Then I connect those 2 points with a line using a straight edge. And draw an arrow. It did also ask me to label those points, so I'm going to do that. So negative 2, 0, and 0, negative 6. Alright, next problem, number 4. Find the slope of the line containing the points negative 2, 3, and 7, 3. So I'm going to use my slope formula. So m equals rise over run. So my y values, the change in the y values. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if you need to, label these points over here. So it'll be x1 and y1, x2 and y2. So y2 would be 3, y1 is also 3. x2 is 7 minus x1, which is negative 2. So you get 0 over 9, which is just equal to 0. So the slope of those lines is, the slope of that line is 0. It doesn't ask us, but just in case, we would say that this is a horizontal line. You guys also had to talk about rising lines, which would have been anything that was positive or greater than 0, would have been a rising line. Anything that was less than 0 would have been a falling line. And then anything divided by 0, so some y value, some rise value divided by 0, is a vertical line, since that's an undefined slope. So those are other terms you should know. Rising for positive, falling for negative. If the denominator is 0, that's a vertical line. If the numerator is 0, like we just saw here, that was a horizontal line. Here's just a question asking us for point slope form. What is point slope form? So just remembering that form. So our slope intercept is y equals mx plus b. And then point slope was y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So we just need the slope and a point in order to write that. Here it's giving, for number 6, it's asking us what is the slope of a line parallel to this given line. So all I'm being asked for here is the slope. So if I could find the slope of the line that we are given, our parallel line would have the same slope as the line that we have. Well, if I wanted the slope of the line we have, we're going to take that and put it into slope-intercept form so I can see its slope. So I'm going to get y by itself. Pretty normal thing to do. So looking at the equation here, I want to get y by itself, so I'm going to get rid of the 5x first. So subtract that 5x to both sides. So that's going to be negative 3y, so don't lose that minus sign. And the x should go first, so minus 5x plus 15. And then I'm going to get rid of that negative 3, so divide here by negative 3, divide here by negative 3, divide here by negative 3. So make sure that negative 3 gets divided everywhere. So that's y equals, so those two negatives here and here will cancel, so I get positive 5/3 x, and then positive 15 divided by negative 3 is negative 5. But all they asked us for was the slope, so just say that m equals 5/3. So the slope of a line parallel to the line we were given would be 5/3, or 5 divided by 3, or 5/3. So it would rise 5 and run 3. All right, number 7, write the equation of the line between -1, negative 6, and 3, 2 in slope-intercept form. So again, what is my answer going to look like? That means I need to have it in y equals mx plus b. So that means I need to know the slope, and I need to know the y-intercept. Well, the easiest thing to do when you're given 2 points is to find the slope. And we just talked about that a second ago, so I'm going to go ahead and label my points again. So x1, y1, x2, y2. So m equals, so y2 is 2 minus negative 6, which is y1. Watch those signs. And then 3 minus negative 1. So that's 2 plus 6, which is 8. And then 3 plus 1, which is 4. So the slope is 2. So there's my m value. There's lots of other different ways to find the y-intercept, but we can use one, which would be just to use the point slope form that we had earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and think about that from up here. So we just found out m. But what we need to do is grab our y1 and our x1. So I can use those here from this point. So y minus y1, so negative 6, equals m, which is 2, times x minus x1, which was -1. So y plus 6 equals 2 times x plus 1. If we go ahead and get this into slope-intercept form by getting y by itself and simplifying the right-hand side, so I'm going to distribute that 2. So it gives me y plus 6 equals 2x plus 2. And I subtract that 6 to the side. So y equals 2x minus 4. There's the equation of the line that goes through the 2 points they gave us. Alright, last problem on this page. Number 8. Write the equation of the line perpendicular to this line here that we're given, and that goes through point 24 in point slope form, and then convert it to slope intercept form. Alright, so a lot going on here. First thing we notice, they want the line perpendicular to this line, and that means the slope is the opposite reciprocal. So I'm going to find the slope of the line they gave me, and then find the opposite reciprocal of that. So just an example of opposite reciprocal, something like 2/3, and then the opposite reciprocal of that would be -3/2. So this line that they gave us here, so I'm going to get y by itself here, so I'm going to subtract 2x first. So that gives me -5y. Okay, don't lose that negative sign. -2x, and then -3. And divide by -5 here, divide by -5 here, and divide by -5 here. So y equals positive 2/5, since those are both negative, x, and then plus 3/5. So the whole reason I did this was to get the slope out of this line. So 2/5, that's going to become -5/2. So that's our slope that we want. So that's the slope of the line that we're going to use, since it's the opposite reciprocal of the slope of the line we were given. And then the other thing I need is the x1 and y1 from the point they give us, so I can go into point slope form. So y minus y1, which is 4, equals m, so -5/2 times x minus x1, which is 2. So there it is in point slope form. So there's one part of the answer. They do want us to convert that into slope intercept form, so I'm going to distribute that -5/2. So that's part of the answer. I'm going to leave that alone. I'll do the work over here, I guess. So y minus 4 is -5/2 x minus 2. So distribute. So y minus 4 equals -5/2 x. -5/2 times 2. So -5, and that's a -2, so times -2. I'm going to put that over 1, which is going to be positive 10/2, which is 5. So that's positive 5. That's plus 5. And then add 4 to both sides. So y equals -5/2 x plus 9. So there is the other part of the answer they wanted. So here's in point slope form, and here it is in slope intercept form. Alright, all done with this page.